to my live book reading of Ernie Gonzalez, The Determined Dreamer. So in case you have just joined me, my name is Beth Shepherd, and I'm the author of the Ernie Gonzalez series. So it's a story about a slimy snail called Ernie who goes in search of his dreams. And I am reading through each chapter of this book, and we are now this day, on chapter 12, The Rapids. So if you have been following me from the beginning, well done for keeping up. That's awesome. If you have missed a few sessions, you can always catch up on my YouTube channel or on my Facebook. You'll see the links below so your parents can help you to find those and catch up on the book readings, and then you can join me live each week. So I hope you guys are all doing well and you've been doing your activities. I know that some of them are awesome. All of them are awesome. I've seen some of them. So thank you so much for sending them in, and keep sending them because I would love to share them. So let's see, where are we today? We are on, as I mentioned, the Rapids. So now things are really heating up for Ernie and Bruce, and things are getting a little bit exciting. So I love action in stories. I love the exciting parts of a story where things move fast. So of course we need some slower parts in the story where we explain the background of the characters. But then usually in the middle where the problem comes is where all the excitement and action comes. So now we are in the middle of the story and my favorite bit. So I hope you're listening carefully. So if you have just joined me for the first time, first of all, I have to say hi to a special group of people who I've just heard maybe listening now or maybe catching up later. But this is Northside. Let me just check. Northside Primary School. So I've been in touch with one of the teachers and they've mentioned something in the newsletter. So maybe you guys will be watching catch up. So if you are from Northside Primary School, then hi and welcome to my book reading. It's really great to have you. So let's quickly recap. So Ernie, the slimy, squidgy green snail, has gone off in search of a big dream, which is big for a snail, to find a special garden that he can really enjoy living in and never have to worry about being squashed again on the pavement. Because we all know it's not fun to squash a snail, and probably less fun if you are the snail. So anyway, Ernie has gone off in search of his dreams, and he ended up in a plant pot, in someone's kitchen on the plant pot, being kept as a pet. That is not great for Ernie because it was not what he had planned and it wasn't what he wanted in his heart. So whilst it was nice and cozy, it was just not what he had planned for and what his heart really desired. So he enjoyed it for a while and indulged himself on giant fat green olives. I love olives. And then found himself not being able to get into his shell properly because he had eaten a few too many olives, and then did exercise on the top of the fridge and fell down behind the fridge and discovered empty snail shells, which was a slightly sinister and mysterious thing to discover, which explained why he was being fed to get a little bit chubbier. So he could be cooked and eaten by the humans, so he had to escape. Ernie did escape, thankfully, and he met the Aussie snail Bruce. Okay, so just a couple of chapters ago he met Bruce, and Bruce is a big adventurous snail, but he has found himself his very own compost heap and he does not want to give it up for anything. So he decides to help Ernie on his way. However, he doesn't realize that he doesn't just help him on his way. He gets swept up into the journey and swept away. And before he knows it, he is loving the adventure of it. So last chapter, we saw, what have I done? We saw Bruce just going off with Ernie to help him get started on his journey. However, they found themselves having to escape from wild dogs who they thought were going to eat them, but actually weren't really that bothered. So Bruce is now in the river with Ernie in the cabbage leaf, desperately panicking to get away from the wolves there, the dogs that are actually just asleep in the sunshine and not really bothered. So the next chapter is the rapids. So our snails are in a cabbage leaf and they are on the river. Let's see what happens. Eventually, Bruce stopped paddling. "Far out, mate," he said, as he relaxed back on the leaf. "That was a close one, Close one. Ernie looked around him. They were far away from the riverbank, and Bruce's beloved compost heap was almost out of sight. Imagine how Bruce must feel. The river was beautifully peaceful and calm, and there was a gentle breeze pushing them forward. I would love to see this. 2 snails in a cabbage leaf sailing down the river would look quite strange, I think. Now, all they had to do was decide which way to go, to the left or to the right. Ernie studied the options for a while. The left side of the river flowed along a wall, and the river seemed to be moving faster than on the right side, which looked to be very calm and pleasant, although he couldn't quite see where it led to. Ernie had no idea which way to go and had to decide soon because the cabbage leaf was getting closer to where they had to decide. He looked at Bruce, who also looked unsure. Right, said Bruce. I think we should go right. It looks calmer. Oh, forgot the Aussie accent. It looks calmer and safer. Not the best Aussie accent. I wonder if you guys can do better. Ernie agreed. He had had enough action for one morning and thought it best to play it safe. Good choice, my friend. Let's go for it, Ernie said. And the cabbage leaf continued to drift down the river in the bright Spanish sunshine. This is the life, Ernie said as he closed his eyes and imagined drifting in his very own boat across Lemon Harbour. Bruce began to relax as well. He thought that it was good to have company after such a long time, and he decided to make the most of this little excursion. Suddenly, the leaf hit something hard underneath it, and the boat stopped moving. Dazed, the snails looked around to figure out what had happened. Water began to spill over the cabbage leaf. We're stuck and taking on water, shouted Bruce. I know, but I can't see what's happened, what stopped us, Ernie yelled in panic as he turned to look at Bruce, hoping that he would have an answer. But Bruce had vanished. Oh my goodness. Ernie was baffled. Bruce, where are you? He could hear gurgling coming from the water behind him, and he looked over the edge of the leaf. There was his friend splashing around and about to sink down into the riverbed. For a second, Ernie froze, feeling powerless to help. Look in your rucksack, gurgled Bruce as he vanished under the surface. Ernie sprang into action. Flinging open his trusted old rucksack, he emptied its contents onto the boat. Cotton bud, blob of sticky chewing gum, mint, yo-yo, sketch pad, pencil. Ernie sighed. What was I thinking? He mumbled, wishing he had given it more thought before packing such useless items. Suddenly, a crazy idea came to him. Grabbing the chewing gum, he quickly stuck one end of it to the mint and the other to the floor of the leaf. Then he flung the mint out onto the water. Grab on, Bruce, he yelled. The pink chewing gum stretching behind the mint as it flew through the air. Let's just show you the picture because it might be hard to imagine without a picture. Let's see. So there's the mint. I don't know if you guys have ever eaten a polo mint. It's got a round bit in the middle. Oh, sorry, there's the mint. And there's the chewing gum stretching out behind like an elastic band. Good thinking, Ernie. All of a sudden, Bruce, who was under the water and sinking fast, saw the round object with a hole in the middle coming towards him. He reached out, grabbed it, and put his head through the middle as Ernie hauled him up. Bruce landed, coughing and spluttering, back on the leaf. Wow, that was a close one. Wow, that was close. Too close, Bruce. Don't ever do that to me again, Ernie panted. Bruce smiled and patted his friend on his shell. Good on you, mate. You did good, Ern. That was quick thinking, real Aussie style. I like it. I think I'll call you the fastest snail in the West from now on. Ernie laughed at his friend's sense of humour. Let's get this boat moving and get on with some hard yakka, Bruce added, shaking himself dry. Ernie had no idea what hard yakka meant, but was just glad his friend was safe. So Bruce has got some good Aussie slangs, hasn't he? Ways of talking. Bruce tapped his tentacles on the bottom of the boat and felt something hard underneath it. We must be stuck on a large rock. Start paddling and we'll soon be moving again. But just then, the two snails felt the cabbage leaf wobble. We seem to be already moving, shouted Bruce. Slowly, the cabbage lifted up out of the water and began moving forward in the air. I wonder what has happened. Ernie peered over the edge. Hey, we're not just on any rock, we're on a moving rock. Bruce looked pale. That is not possible. Rocks don't just move on their own. Well, this one does, yelled Ernie. Ah! They both shouted. Ernie clung to the side of the leaf with one tentacle and to his friend with the other tentacle. What's going on? Shouted Bruce. I have no idea, but hold on tight, Ernie replied as he pointed towards the fast, rushing river that lay before them. Bruce had only seconds to grab hold of Ernie before they entered the rapids. So I don't know if you know, but rapids are where the water is moving really fast and it's quite dangerous. Okay, so violently, they were flung from side to side with the force of the water as they held on using the strongest suction power they could muster. Oh, and the chapter ends there. I forgot where I ended the chapter. So I wonder what's going to happen next time and who or what the moving rock is. So the next chapter is called The Two Hitchhikers. Right, so let me see. I have a tip for you before my iPad runs out of battery. So my awesome writing tip for you today is character emotion. So sometimes when you're writing the story and something like this happens to your characters, so I wonder if you've spotted anywhere where I added character emotion. I'm not sure if I can remember, but I'm sure I did. But sometimes when the action is happening, we can add the emotion after. But it's so important to add character emotion. So if you're not sure what that is, that's how the character feels. Okay, so when Ernie has lost Bruce over the side of the boat, his heart might sink. And if you say something like that, that tells us that he feels sad. So that is an example of show, not tell. We can show someone's, a character's feelings without saying what they're feeling. So his head hung low to the ground probably means he felt sad. So I've talked about show, not tell before. But this time I want to really talk about character emotion. It is okay to say he felt sad. I think it's so important you do it in a variety of different ways. A bit of show, not tell, showing him feeling sad or happy or anxious or excited, and maybe describing his physical reaction to how he feels, which is shoulders down or jumping for joy. Either way you do it, both is important to show how your character is feeling about what has happened to them, or maybe it could be what has been said to them. Okay, so all of this gives depth to our story and it helps your reader to identify with the character, to feel like, oh, I felt like that sometimes. And then it helps us to feel closer to that character and enjoy the story more. When we feel closer to the character and we feel like we like the character and we know them, then we can enjoy the story more. We kind of go through the experiences with them as if it was us, so us having the adventure. So this is a great way to make your story a lot more interesting and richer and exciting for the reader to read. Right, now, I have a slightly different activity for you today. So being a good friend is super important. Okay, so I know you guys are all good friends to the friends that you have. So I am sure that you are. And it's such an important thing to be able to do, to be a good friend to someone. And Bruce, in this story, has been a good friend to Ernie. So I have some worksheets for you, but I am working on uploading them so you can download them for free from my website. So I'm hoping to do that the end of today or the end of tomorrow. So keep an eye out on my Facebook page and I will try and put a link there. Okay, so there is an activity crossword. So find the words for what it means to be a good friend. The other thing you don't need a worksheet for, but I will add it if I can figure out the technology to do it. I will add it, but you don't necessarily need a worksheet for this. So I want you to write 2 examples of how Bruce and Ernie have been good friends to each other. So you might pick one example for Bruce, one example for Ernie. So think about the last 2 chapters, this chapter and the one before, okay, when Bruce helped Ernie escape from the dogs. And the next chapter, Ernie helped rescue Bruce from the from drowning in the boat, okay? So they are all ways that they've been good friends to each other. It might be they used encouraging words to each other. That is a great way that we can be a friend to someone, is encouraging them with words. Also, Bruce came alongside Ernie to support him on his dream. That's a great way that we can be a friend to someone, is supporting them in something that they are doing that might be challenging. So we can kind of come alongside them and cheer them on. So that I've given you some examples now. So see if you can think of 2 of your own or use mine in your own words. The second bit, I would love it if you could write a paragraph or 2, so about half a page, of what it means to be a good friend. So slightly different, but still it's creative writing, practicing your writing skills. So I also have a competition for you guys. I said on Tuesday I'm going to have think of some competitions. So I haven't mentioned this before, but I also have a workbook that goes with my book. Okay, so this workbook is packed with loads of exciting activities. So the crossword that I just mentioned, and those 2 activities I've just mentioned. Okay, so 2 examples of being a good friend and write about a paragraph. They're all in here. And other things, fill in the blanks. What else is there? Circle the right answers, things like that. Okay, and it's all about how to be determined, how to be a determined dreamer like Ernie. So being a good friend, teamwork, encouraging yourself and others. So my competition is for the first 5 people who send me by the 28th of May. So that is this time next week. So next Thursday, let's say 3 o'clock, by the end of the day, next Thursday, send me your paragraphs. So I want 2 paragraphs or about half a page of writing about what it means to be a good friend. And the first 5 people who send it to me, I will send you a downloaded copy of this book. Okay, so it will come in the email and you can print it on your home computer and you can do all the activities. Okay, so I will put this on Facebook so you can find out all the details and where to send it, and ask your parents to help you to do this. And then I can't wait to pick pick the first 5 people and send you this activity workbook as a digital download. So by next Thursday, what it means to be a good friend. So I haven't got any work to share today, but please do send me any other work that you have. And on Tuesday, next session, when we'll be reading The 2 Hitchhikers, I'll see if I can share some awesome work. I'm hoping that I've got a news article to share with you. So take care. Don't forget to have a go at the activity and send it to me. I can't wait to see it.